Hello everybody, it's New Year's Eve where I am. For some people in the world it's already started the new year. Happy New Year's Eve everybody, and it's been a fantastic year for Bitcoin and for cryptocurrency in general and for the Rocky Outcrop community. It's fantastic to be here on the last day of 2020, and thank you so much for joining me. We're going to be taking a look at the charts, of course, for Bitcoin, Chainlink, Ethereum and Tezos, and we'll be doing that in just a second. Let me roll the intros and see it in the charts in just a sec. Well, thank you very much for joining me, and for everybody that does tune in this evening, I just want to say thank you so much for spending some of your New Year's Eve with me looking at the charts. And let's just kind of rock and roll and get things off and started. I hope everybody is able to see me that is tuning in and that it's all broadcasting well. So let's just see. Now, in the last 24 hours, really what we've seen is the prices being inside this wedge that we drew on in yesterday's live stream, which is pretty nifty, really, overall. And we also saw that the prices came down as far as this 2.272, which we were speaking about in yesterday's live stream, down there at 27,000, well, actually as low as 27,589, and that has been very exciting for the prices. The actual low actually on this chart here, 27,557, with the high so far today up there at 29,286. So it's been a miraculous end to the year, with Bitcoin having exploded up throughout the whole year, and we're actually coming towards the end of the month as well. So we can stick this monthly chart on here and just take a little step back and look at how fantastic the prices have performed over the last, well, let's just actually zoom out here and take a look at it for quite a wee while on the chart and see just how fantastic the Bitcoin has been as an investment, and how lucky we all are to be here involved in the community. Whether you're trading it or hodling it or anything else, then it's fantastic to be a part of what has been a really wonderful year for the new economy out there. But we do have a couple of things to be aware of as well, in terms of where we would need to stay above to be able to continue this lovely upward trend. And in today's show, I'm going to just draw a big old Fibonacci on here, using the monthly time frame to draw out some nice and easy to see levels here, starting down at the lows on the 1st of December month, the December month down here in 2018, coming up to our all-time highs, just to put everything in a nice broad perspective for us. So let's just do that real quick here. And coming in at the highs, and I'll just double check that actually lines up nicely enough, so don't need to be too exact about this one. So long as the prices are able to stay above 22,900, let's just call it 23,000 here at that 236, then everything is looking really hunky-dory for potential upside targets. And let's just also use the Fibonacci here on the monthly time frame to do that, going from our previous all-time high down to the low that we drew this Fibonacci in that we were just looking at a second ago from, and then use the extensions off the back of that, knowing that of course we've come up as high and topped out and gone further than the 1618 here on this time frame in that 28,000-ish area, 27,500, and that's another target to stay above, of course, as we look into the start of the new year. But what we can see here up above in terms of what could happen in 2021 for us, within the realms of reason, absolutely, and maybe some exciting targets to look forward to, are our prices as high as 42,633, just coming in at 2,618 there, then moving up towards the 3,618, and that's at this 57,700 area. And then if we go on up towards the 4 point, various Fibonacci points, we're looking up between 67 and 74,000. We actually talked about two big numbers in yesterday's in yesterday's live stream, such as 50,000 and 100,000, and there's reasons, beyond just the round number aspect of those. Excuse me. The round number aspect of those, to look to them as targets, because we drew out different Fibonacci extensions based off of the June 2019 highs down to the lows in March, and that's where they were coming in at those extension points. So this is all looking really fantastic for a positive year, and that has just, you know, summed up in terms of the charts, just, you know, how I feel about this community and what we've got on the go here, growing so fantastically well, and everything being so really enjoyable and such a fantastic community to be a part of. So I owe it all to you, and I just wanted to say a massive thank you for everybody for being a part of that. And I can see we have Zoner, Navanethan, Pan Diasilic, Navanethan and Zoner. Well, there we go. It's like a ready back in names there. Tuning in for today's show. Hi guys, says Zoner. Hiya. Navanethan says howdy. Howdy. Pan says, finally found someone actually talking about Bitcoin, not only live chart. Way, well, welcome to the community. Good to have you here, my friend. Nice to see you. I hope you settle in nicely. You found a good one, says Navanethan. That's quality. Bitcoin 4-hour triple RSI and MACD Class A bearish divergence, says Zoner. Bitcoin going to zero confirmed, but trend is too bullish. I wouldn't go short. This is financial advice. Not me. This is what Zoner said in that comment. Oh, you know, got me reading stuff out there. It's like you know what Ron Burgundy says. I don't want to swear in the video as much as I need to. Screw you, San Diego. Sort of. Sledge, hi, nice to see you there. Hey Rocky, do you think New Year's alone, the end of the tax season, will affect the price of Bitcoin USD? Well, there's a lot of things that can affect the price, and you know, and it's always worth remembering as well, there can always be black swan style events, as we've seen happen with regards to Ripple over the last wee while. So, you know, there's anything can happen at any time in the markets. That's just, you know, a given, I suppose, that we need to remember. But we can just kind of say overall that we're in a bull trend. Some easy targets to look to if you are thinking about, you know, where the prices could retrace to if we see some negativity come in as a result of whatever reason it may or may not end up being. If you suggest, for instance, there, the New Year's tax season stuff. Well, if we look here on the monthly Bollinger Bands, we can see that the top end of it is going up at a really steep angle and whatever else. We can expect the prices to come and kind of retest onto it. We've discussed this sort of thing in the past, and that means, you know, maybe you might be looking towards something like the 1.414 if you just kind of imagine us coming back down and tracing this up the way overall, you know, on average. Then you'd be looking even just easily down towards that 25,000 area, and that's just an easy sort of off the top of your head type target. But we do, I did already kind of iterate that as long as we're above the sort of 23,000 area where there's 236 is kind of mostly generally speaking, then we are doing well, and that's kind of, you know, keeping this invalid. And then you would kind of expect perhaps then just to continue with the trend being your friend as ever. So you have a couple of things lining up here depending on how, you know, the start of the next year goes and what have you. Just bearing in mind as well that this monthly Bollinger Band actually was kind of below this, wasn't it really at the start of the month? And the way that the month has turned out, because we've gone up so high, has dragged this obviously towards the top side with the 20 period moving average coming on up the way as well. So, you know, it's steeply rising towards the top side at this moment in time, and there's plenty of retrace areas to give you those discounts on Bitcoin. And you could be looking at various different ones. But what we are here to talk about really overall is just how fantastic it has been, and the trajectory of Bitcoin this year, and how it's been massively towards the top side. And that is how I feel about this community as well. And it has been, in terms of trajectory, massively towards the top side. And I just wanted to point out this wee thing here, patreon.com/Rocky Outcrop. Just bring up the old Patreon page and say, what's my view my public page. These options here, what this one over here on the right is an idea that I've been having recently when I talk about surrounding ourselves with 1,000 good traders and whatever else. If I do make a new level within the Discord, after a certain amount of people start, you know, using that option, where there's enough of a community there to kind of be sharing different trade ideas and trying to help each other all become better traders, all of us on this journey that we're on together, growing together as this independent traders as part of a community, well, that's kind of an option there that I'm looking at. But of course, currently, it's just another way of sort of supporting the channel. And I just wanted to point that out and say, well, there we have it. That's an option for anybody and I'm open to discussion about what this how this would work. But it's all been part of a fantastic, amazing trajectory that we've seen. It's like we've seen in the price of Bitcoin, everything just rocketing towards the top side in terms of just the quality of the people that are part of this overall community. And I thought maybe it would make this in different level. And that's that. It's not so much. It wouldn't be any sort of signals type thing or anything like that. That's not what that's about. That is just about having a place for people to discuss things in a format where it's people who are professionally trading or trading at a high level with each other to help each other grow. That's just that kind of as a community thing. See how it goes. Whatever. You can all give me your feedback because I'm all totally interested in hearing all about it. In the terms of the smaller term timeframes, though, just here on the Bitcoin chart, let me hit the auto button to make this a little bit more legible in terms of reading the charts here. I just wanted to point out that this is still the current structure that we're in, and of course we've seen a couple of green candles here towards the top side. Little interesting nuances perhaps with regards to the CME's premiums and things like that at the minute. I'm not too sure what sort of what are we looking at here. It's still open. We're seeing it has got a slightly red day here, as maybe the futures contracts aren't trading at quite the same high premium, while we're looking at a slightly green day here on the Bitcoin price, and I wonder if that'll kind of balance out or whatever in the end as well. So that's something to kind of keep our eye out for as I just look at the charts here, taking in everything as much as I possibly can. And we can see obviously the bearish divergence that what was it, Zoner? I think it was Zoner yourself. Yes, it was Zoner that pointed out, and we've got it everywhere. This is the 4-hour chart, and you're seeing the bearish divergence here at this point on the assumption that this actually turns out to be a local high. So let's just be a little bit sort of let's naysay that, shall we? Let's just naysay it. This is just to play devil's advocate, because what we want to do here is kind of assess the risks of any sort of presupposition we might be making about the divergences and whether or not this is actually constitutes a local low. Well, we did go down below the 236, and we see the wick came down as far as the 886 in terms of Fibonacci retracement from this low, which was where presumably you'd be saying is the last low, judging these two areas here, for instance, as being bearishly divergent on the RSI, and well, that's not on the MACD. So maybe if you're looking just between these two areas instead, which is probably wiser anyway, actually, to be honest with you, then your local low could be any of these ones. So we'll just go for the lowest low beforehand. Let's just be critical about things in an extreme way and say, yeah, well, we've not really necessarily done that. So we could just kind of hold off on saying that that's the case, having just put in, more sort of all-time highs. It just keeps on ticking along there. Let's just hold off on that being the case until we see a couple of things happen, such as perhaps in terms of just oscillators and whatnot, this turning into a blue line instead of an orange line, where we have the ADX component of that showing a strength of trend while we're moving in either or direction. Taking out this previous low and this previous low, this is just this is too soon. It'd be talking about this low and this low really in terms of the RSI, so we can get sort of swing failure on the go. And of course the considering where we've come really in terms of this flux, and if we take out at the very least in terms of closing candles, I suppose really if you wanted to trade, not at the very least, and that sounds a bit even almost borderline financial advice, I would say, and it's not, just in terms of where your risk points become diminished, or in terms of like exacerbated towards the downside in terms of risk, should you be looking to take longs at that point, come in at around, I would say maybe perhaps in this 50% area down the way, where we've had this green wick on the last 4-hour candle, and really closing bodies below this area perhaps would give us that move. This wick obviously is quite deep and does have a degree of sort of positivity about it because it's moved towards the top side and back into this structure, and only really coming down to the fake out territories, if you like, of the move. So yeah, that's positive, and potentially gives you that momentum towards the top side, should we constitute this as just giving us an extra chance at burning off some sort of intermediate divergence. But really, you know, until the prices push up above these bigger areas, sort of using the MACD component in terms of the divergence chat here in the 4-hour time frame to say that these are our last two significant highs. Likewise with the just looking between these areas on the DMI, then you know we'd have to wait and see, and we could move up towards the top side and remain bearishly divergent, and actually potentially even take out this entire move here towards the 31,200 area, or wherever we want to measure this in from. Presumably wouldn't be breaking out until such times you're over here, and maybe the measuring sticks slightly, you know, whatever. We'll call it 31,500, right, on that one. Looking at that is you know, we're what? Back it up. Yeah, so we'll just call it somewhere up towards sort of 31,500 area potentially if you push all the way through this, and that would be a target for us. While still conducting the structural moves, or the momentum aspects of things moves, that Zoner is talking about, which are indeed bearish. Indeed, so is this pattern. You know, not obviously, but for everybody necessarily, but this is a wedge, and when you're looking at these wedges, then typically you talk about them having a preponderance to break towards the downward side. However, not lately. Not lately. Checking in with the chat here. It's good to see everybody, by the way. Really, really great to see everybody. We got the likes of Tracebon. Nice to have you here, buddy. We've got the likes of Sledge, which we were chatting earlier on. 3000 Trin. Hiya, matey. Good to have you here. Demo. Hey, peeps. Why not give Patreon roles in Discord? Yes. Patreon roles in Discord. See, these are the sort. Why not? I'll be honest with you, because I was too dumb to realise that was an option. Thanks for the tip on that one. Now I know it. Yeah, why not? I see no reason why not to. Thanks, mate. Right back at you. Thanks for everything at Tracebon, Rocky, and gang. Quality. We've got some wee chart emojis and whatnot coming in there. I think they'd make the upward green lol. Yeah, that's funny. Maybe it's a sort of sentiment graph, you know. Come on. Emoji FUD. That's funny. Good to have you here, Tanner. Yeah, killing it. We'd love to see your analysis on Fetch.ai, machine learning blockchain. Interesting stuff. Maybe we'll take a look at that in a bit, but we'll do all the regular stuff for now anyhow. Michael John Scott, good to have you here, John, again. Hi, crypto dudes and dudesses. Hope you're all healthy and happy. Big smiley face right back at you, my friend. So what have we got on the go right now? This 4-hour time frame is more or less how Zoner articulated in brief, and then the brief opposite side of that is that, well, we do have the potential to move up the way, having kind of come down here and be rejected from this move down the way, while we haven't really this is actually quite negative, just like Zoner says, but we do have the opportunity to go up towards the top side, and we are really looking at this area, and rather than just this short-term sort of aspect here between the high on well, just earlier on today, before going and saying that there's that divergence that we're going to, we can burn past this area for quite a while, and that could take us all the way up to those areas. If we don't, of course, and we're looking towards the downside, that's where this blue line comes in here, this rated one there, 26,455, and yeah, well, we do have a cross here, though. It's worth pointing out, by the way, of course, my horse, that there is this negative cross here on the DMI, while we have the potential here for this to give us sort of move towards the top side. It's not come low enough now to just say that this is simply chop, but it doesn't take long for that to happen, so you would need to see follow through in either direction. So that's what we're looking for, and this is going to show us afterwards, there's obviously inherent risk on either side of it, and we remain in a position where we're able to trade within these zones and even take advantage of moves outside of them in such a way way that you're able to judiciously manage any trades where you're still stopping out in profit if you were just doing it on a really short-term basis, and giving you opportunities to be patient, and to remind you that there's still a degree of volatility here, which which you could take advantage of just in terms of movements in either direction. However, with closures of candles moving down the way, it puts into question this has been a local low, and then we're even putting this into question as being a local low really overall, and because at that stage we can look up towards the 24-hour time frame, clear off all the junk, I suppose, like that, and see that we've really just been moving up and up. We were outside the Bollinger Bands, moving up the way we came down, and we were moving up within the Bollinger Bands. Looking over here at the Bitcoin pricing, obviously this was this gap. The Bitcoin pricing, Bitcoin CME pricing here, this was this gap move towards the top side thereafter, and we've been just tracing within it. Now, of course, this could easily have a retracement down any number of ways, but we can always look down again towards that 24,500 area that we already kind of covered with regards to that bearish chat earlier on, as with regards to the filling in this gap over here as well. Depending on where your wick stop off at, perhaps you're looking down towards 23,500 perhaps, and then coming back up the way, etc, etc. But whatever, that's a bridge to be crossed when we come to it. We've got these two moving averages kind of showing us as well where those areas actually lie, lining up neatly with them, going there between 26,180 at the 8 period exponential moving average here, down to 23,670 on the 18 period exponential moving average there as well. But yeah, looking all right, moving towards the top side. Looking all right, moving towards the top side on the daily time frame, making it into this oversold or overbought territory, I should say. We have got a little tick around here on this one, but we're going, still going well. There is the potential for this to turn divergent, but it would be so premature to say so. And this green candle that we're having, so it's still towards the top side. We have this kind of potential wedge type structure showing, it's sort of showing up on this movement up the way. So we could see a healthy retracement at some point, down to any of these numbers, for instance, on the down towards that 8 period exponential moving average, and then moving towards the top side thereafter again anyway, just as part of this overall move. Maybe it'd be nice at this stage, as we look towards the end of the year, to stick the stochastics on again for a second. Do I have that on my list? No. Darn it. Okay. Where's my stochastics? My scripts. My stochastic, please. And over on the right. So I wonder what it looks like here. Oh yeah, okay, so we're still positioned towards the top side with this move. I've got both my moving averages on there. Don't need both of them visible. What's that little boot? Just take off one of them. Who cares, whatever. So yeah, and that's like cross towards the top side, looking all right, perpendicular almost, but and we took out that area as well, so we managed to do like this chunk here in terms of price action since overall without too much divergence on this daily time frame. It's actually a bit of a surprise looking at that, the way that it's managed to just shirk it off and stay within the overbought territory for so long there on that stochastic without any real danger. Looking at the neutral line here and showing us the way, so we can consider moves past the neutral line whenever you're in such a strong trend here. I was talking about this in yesterday's episode as being sold. At this stage now, that we're up in the overbought territory, moving from this down the way would, just like we saw in these two instances here. In fact, as well, you could almost make the debate about this area here as well. But just at, coming down past this point would obviously give you that support potentially, or enough of a measured move off of this. Though, if we did do a sort of measured move type aspect off of that, we could be going down past that zone to get into the actual oversold territory on this thing. Whilst we've been in a bullish trend, would be kind of unexpected, without having seen some serious structural damage occurring, along the way. So that's looking good overall. What about the weekly time frame? Same sort of deal. I mean, obviously, what goes up must come down. There's something will happen at some stage. Sorry, It doesn't look good. I mean, it looks good from the point of view of like, look how long we've been in this for months and months, until such times as this changes. Then nothing major's happened. We are getting areas to buy back on dips, but also gives us clear warning signs that if we did move down past this zone, I mean, we've had several bites of the cherry so far. If we do push down past it, this is the weekly time frame, then of course you're looking back to events like we had in July, coming back down past this. So you can look at this in terms of saying, if we get that momentum towards the downside, they really do actually start taking out these previous areas. For instance, coming down past sort of 87 on this thing, then I'm looking for this to go on and really test something. And in terms of where that could take us and remaining fairly bullish, you're looking all the way down here and saying, well, so long as we more or less stay above the neutral line, then everything's gravy overall for us in any pull down. So that means we need to keep our eye on the price action, just overall. And in the meantime, until such things changes, then that looks good in inverted commas, and it does in terms of other things on the weekly time frame. This bullishness that we've got here in terms of the MACD, like with regards to a lack of divergence essentially here. Same on the upward positive moves of the DMI. Now we are obviously getting really high in terms of the weekly time frame. We're up past that June 19 high. So of course, for us to see a turnaround from this point here would be of no surprise. Again, looking to structure, otherwise, and all the rest of it. We already talked about targets, for instance, 31,000, all the rest of it. And then of course, you've got the other ones we talked about, which are towards the top side already. And we can look back and we can see that the previous time to that was, of course, in December 2017, so we're at this point where if we do see movements down the way, then of course it's brown trousers time, right? And we'll be aware of that. We're aware of it. We're talking about it all the time. We're always kind of keeping our finger on the pulse of it. So we can know that if we do move down the way here, we could see some greater damage occurring. We're obviously then we'd be looking for this to stay above this upward trending line here. This is talking about 2021 pricing here. This is the weekly time frame at the minute. This is talking about the trajectory. Everything's fantastic and been going fantastic, yada yada. So long as in terms of all throughout 2021 we stay above this overall, and that would be great to see, and avoid any sort of massive pullback in the face of what has of course been an overall upward really parabolic move. And when we look back in time, it's a similar sort of thing to what we saw over here, and at any point then that it gets to the point where it's good until it isn't, and this is when we have to remember the trend is your friend. So what is the trend saying to us? Well, it's saying to us those other targets up above that we already covered, and of course then that would be fandabidozy to see. That's going to do us in terms of the Bitcoin chat. If AB tunes in, or if anybody else wants to take a note, then we're talking 27 minutes is when it's stopped talking about Bitcoin. And what we did talk about in that was quite a bit of stuff, and it's really great, and we'll come back and take a look at that again, of course, in the very near future. And I'm just going to end up here with the 15-minute time frame, put my drawings back on, and just say, well, this doesn't line up perfectly, but whatever. What the top side target currently, would be coming in there around about that 29,379 area, where we could then see just more oscillations of this nature. But then of course that's doing a couple of things like putting in an all-time high. Could we do that? Yeah, cool, whatever. Could we also see pullbacks down the way? Well, we could, and we could go down towards 28,500 fairly happily without anything really major happening. We kind of demonstrated over the last chunk of time really that we can even extend beyond that. So long as we stay above the 27,500 area, then we're kind of gravy overall. But then movements past that zone can go down another $1,000 thereafter, and you might want to just be aware of these things. I suppose 27,000 in itself is support in terms of the 618, and that would be if you were trading this for this move, but then of course that's just all, that's maybe all 4 or 5 different ways that you could be looking at the market right now in terms of how that would operate. But we're right up above this, above the middle line of this in terms of it, sort of the middle area of it, and we're above all these moving averages, and that's great. We're getting in higher highs here. They're not divergent. Obviously we've come really high in the stochastics, and we do tend to turn around here, but still whatever. We're not not divergent in this little move here. Hide this off, there's not enough real estate. This little move here in terms of coming in here and taking out that area, well, it's looking like we're going to get some sort of hidden bearish divergence, I suppose, in terms of the stochastics, in terms of how this has come up and not taking out any of these highs. So again, looking down in terms of the structure of this, maybe I should just get rid of this. Nah, I'll leave it on there. Yeah, but that's all just the short-termism stuff. Whatever. No, we don't need to look at it. Let's stick on the 1 hour time frame so we can forget about it and say top end of the Bollinger Band's up there, 29,300 area or so. That's our next target towards top side. Okay, that's cool. Whew. And I washed my hands of that negative stuff. We didn't come here for that. We didn't tune in for that. This silly bean. Has anyone done a deep dive into Ardor, managed by Geruda Swiss SA? The fundamentals look very interesting. Could have a very good year ahead. Thoughts, everyone? Anyone? Cheers. Well, that's an interesting thing. That I've not done any deep dive into that. I can tell you. So somebody maybe else would. What was it that somebody was asking for earlier on? Just so I don't forget who was asking for something. Tanner, wasn't it? Tanner, we'd love to see your analysis on Fetch AI, machine learning, blockchain. Do we know that the ticker is for that? And if you can stick it in the chat again, Tanner, that'd be handy to see. We could take a look at that in a wee bit. You've come a long way. I remember your pre-COVID analysis. Awesome to see your channel grow. Fantastic. If you remember the pre-COVID analysis, that's that's such, I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? It's such a long time ago, and we do have a lot more to look forward to in terms of 2021, and it seems so dark in so many ways, outside obviously of Bitcoin, which is fantastic. It seems so dark in so many ways, but that's often the way of it, isn't it? Darkest before the dawn. So what does that mean? It's the dawn soon. Fantastic. And 2021 is just around the corner, so smiles are around for everybody. Let's just then scroll on down and see what everybody's chatting about at the minute. We're talking about we've got a conversation go between John and Damo. That's cool. Hit the like, everybody. Thanks so much, K-Duck, for hitting the like. Good to see you, buddy. It's good to have you here. Have you seen the farewell YouTube videos from the Edinburgh Hogmanay people? I really like them. I highly recommend watching them. In fact, I'll just go ahead and give them a shout out. That's right. Just let me navigate. Search from my cat music. This is one of my favorite YouTube channels. Highly recommend that one to everybody. Search for this and give a link to everybody. If you might want to watch this at some point or whatever, give them a shout out. These videos here, they're all fantastic. Take a look at them. Farewell Part 1, Edinburgh Hogmanay 2020. Something to watch after this, or indeed, as you're watching the bells come in. All that good stuff. K-Doc's financial advisor. What? Portfolio is looking good for 2020. We took a hit from XRP because Prad dumped on us, but 2021 is looking promising. Listen to what Rocky has to say and we will be good. I'll report back in Q2, says K-Talk's financial advisor. Nice one. Yeah, totally, K-Doc. Check out those videos, they're quality. Happy New Year, big chap. Soon you'll be glad you'll be getting a quiet one, no doubt, with the street party off. Oh yeah, totally. But then it would be nice to have. It would be nice. Yes, it's off, but I gotta remember why it's off, and of course that's not good. But yes, I'll take silver lining totally with that one, and yeah, it will be a nice quiet one this evening. Less the old ambulances and whatever else, hopefully as well, going by outside. So that'd be nice, and no fire engines or fire ambulances, if you want to call them that as well. Happy New Year, big chap. You'll be like, oh yeah, read that one. I haven't yet. So yeah, I read that one. What time's OAE on at? OAE? OAE. I should know this, but I don't. My F validator node went live at 5:12 this morning, all running smooth so far. Fantastic, excellent. Thank you for keeping us all safe and sound out there, John, with your validation of the Ethereum network. Keeping it going. Without people like you, where would we be today? Yeah, well, actually, in all seriousness, that's the truth. It's one of these amazing things, and I really hope you get the just rewards for doing it and all the rest of it. Good one. I've not actually done that myself. I did look into doing that. Haven't. So really interested to see how it goes for you. I feel like a decentralized Federal Reserve creating my own money. Yeah, quality. What did I miss? Says Zoner. Angel spread. No, nothing much, Zoner. And we did get Zoner. We did get we did have KDoc's financial advisor dropping by though, which was which was fun. Right, cool. What am I going to take a look at? Yeah, okay. So we'll jump on over towards the Ethereum charts. How are they getting on? How's Ethereum getting on? And we can see that we're more or less in the same sort of zone of what we were in yesterday. If we just jump up towards the 24-hour time frame, in fact, we've come back down into the that's not great to see, obviously, but you know, it's fine overall. The highs up there at what's the market say, 757 as the highs, 722 as the lows, and then haven't moved back up again above 741. That's very good to see. Now if we do come down towards the 236, that lines up with this 8-period exponential moving average, and then of course that's in there at 700 area, let's call it 703, but we're not talking about down to the dollars, at 700, right? And then this green horizontal line, which lines up with their previous highs, also lines up with where we see the 18-period exponential moving average here on the 24-hour time frame. Maybe that'd be your next target if you're to get pullback on this one. And then 382, the 382 is coming in at 667 there on that, you know, call it 680. But you know, we've not done like the. There is obviously inherent risk in this. You know, if to call in for like parabolic moves towards the top side is just like, you know, I mean, obviously it can happen, the trend's your friend and all the rest of it. So yeah, sure, great, cool, and that can be the expectation, and that's how we're going to. So just bearing in mind that everything we're talking about is from a risk management point of view, that you know that if the trend's your friend and that's going to continue, what are the inherent risks then for us to be aware of that we really need to be aware of it, and in terms of these movements that we're looking at just now, dropping down towards the 4-hour time frame. Seeing that we've got these highs coming in as being bearishly divergent right at that point, we've got this Fibonacci, like, you know, we know the targets down there. Coming down towards 708 is a problem, okay? But if we bounce from there, that's fine. We've only gone down as low as 725, and that's, you know, totally within the realms of fairness and everything else. But does that give us a satisfactory low currently? Well, we've got this high, this low, this high, and then actually overall what we've seen happen with these body closures is that we've actually continued to put in higher lows as well overall in terms of this little structure right now. But it is a worrisome looking one, because obviously it lines up just like what we were looking at over there on Bitcoin with this current structure. And that obviously is negative, and the way that it was drag, you would come down towards perhaps any of these sub 236 targets, you know, where of course the Bollinger Band itself lines up with that 236 here on the 4-hour time frame. That's the lower end of it, and we can kind of start to get worried if we do move past the 20-period moving average here as well. That's just a simple moving average, the basis line of the Bollinger Band, and that comes in at 734. And looking at this closer, you can see that we didn't actually do any of that within that 4-hour period, and this is really where the risk is for us. So, you know, of course it would be great to see this fail therefore and move towards the top side, but bearing in mind then what could that potentially look like if it were to, in this structure, do something like that. And that takes us up to these, you know, higher than 800 levels that we're talking about 10% moves towards the top side, you know, and that's obviously significant. You know, it's not quite as much as 10% in terms of that measured move right there, but it depends on what particular target that you're looking at to choose, you know, where the musical chairs would stop, you know, because there's various other ones that we can just draw out real quick here. For example, here using this Fibonacci extension, such as going up as high as $900 where that 2618 is. As you can see here, of course, the 1618 is right at where we are at. So seeing a retrace from this area wouldn't be a shock, and those downside targets which go beyond the real sort of shallow ones that we're talking about obviously start getting serious with moves beyond 677 here with regards to Ethereum. And we could trace this technical analysis the whole way down the page, you know, if we wanted to. This is kind of giving us the broader structure. Here we can look at it on the 15-minute time frame, see that with these lows close. What did we get? Not quite bullish divergence or anything, but a nice, turning around of things. The volatility coming in here, pushing us up the way. Will we see a retrace in the near term down for another higher low down there towards 740, something like that, perhaps, and then move on up the way thereafter? Or this going to then, would that then result in this being hidden bullish divergence? Well, it could be, blah blah blah. What's it all add up to? Well, essentially your downside is you have to think about how you're going to manage your position anywhere below the sort of 730 to 725 area, and then things are going to kind of get like increasingly risky to hold on to any longs in terms of the really short term, up to 758 really, as you can clearly see at the minute. And then movements beyond that, there's areas to how you would judge getting in on it and out of moves, and just bringing the volume back on, which I hid in yesterday's episode. Then you can see we've got this diminishing volume, it's tightening off during this phase. So this is all kind of lending itself. What is it? Because it's not lending itself. It's adopting a good degree of readiness for potential moves outside of these areas. Okay, and that's nice to see. I do want to. You have to be aware of things. Like this is, of course, just the 50-minute time frame, but this is obviously a clear area for danger with this sort of divergence that we're seeing between those highs. Can we push past it? Yes, we probably can, but then are we going to then fail to come in higher than our previous highs overall with this move, and then continue with the divergence, etc., along the way, and then lead itself into a move towards the downside with momentum, or not? Anyway, this is just the 50-minute time frame. I can hide off the Bollinger Bands because they're a bit noisy on there, and we know kind of what they're spanning between the top and bottom of that, and zoom in a wee bit and read the chat. Actually, already done all of this, and I should have moved on to other coins by now already. What do you think will be on the next hours? Oh well, cool, I've just done that for NKN. So those are two areas towards the next hours. And Ethereum, crud. Right, okay, moving on. We've done Ethereum now. Let's go on to Chainlink USD, and this is operating just outside of our triangle here. The 50-minute time frame means a lot of scrolling around is necessary. As you can see here, this was drawn in, I said at the time quite clearly, that it was just drawn in real quick. All the rest of it, fake out territory still remains the same down here towards that 1064 area. Movements beyond that, then of course your next significant area of support comes in at around, anywhere between sort of $10 and $10.30. If we go beyond that, then we've got various downside targets, and we were really looking at the move off the back of this wedge at that stage, which of course is towards the top side, and it does take you down towards targets such as $8, that sort of thing. But we don't need to think about that until any times as the prices have really kind of closed below 1062 on a decent time frame. Just to begin with, this is near term stuff with regards to Chainlink. This has obviously been an overall downward trend as well. We continue to move towards the downside, but there are degrees of positivity to be taken into account when we look back in time with these moves here having come in with a bit of bullish divergence, which is decent to see. Now, of course, arguments could be made with regards to how we handle all of this here with any divergences and whatever else, but just to keep things nice and neat and simple and crisp and even, as good King Wenceslas liked it. Really, this is the significant area with any movements in terms of measured moves off the back of this wedge towards the top side that I want to see prices actually take advantage of, because if we can do this, then what we're doing is breaking a degree of this structure and coming in here with the potential for this sort of twin peak area and around about the $16, and it gives everything a lovely start to 2021. But of course, if we just go for the 60% thing, that's also fine. Coming in and doing the same sort of basic interplay in and around about that $14, $14.70 area, I suppose, is really what we're looking to on that one, and managing to undo the damage of the 236, which we have come down and fulfilled the 618 Fibonacci retracement of in terms of our body closes, of course, as well, with this really big move that came all the way down towards the these lower areas. I'm pretty sure we could get a decent harmonic or something on the go here, giving us at least a medium term move towards the top side, should we manage to do any of these sorts of things in the longer term, and just managing it from a risk management point of view, staying within all of these targets. In fact, that was drawn in the log, that's why it didn't quite line up perfectly when it came between the different charts there on link. That's kind of just to rectify that in terms of what happened on the starting part of this video. Yeah, so anyway, all these things looking negative really, and as you would expect, because this has been, you know, tailing off towards the downside since back at the tail end of November, and having not really given us anything of great positivity to look to, because we have this whatever you want to call it, like 3 rising peaks or valleys or all that sort of stuff here. What this actually ends up doing as you're moving towards the top side is creating various entries for time frame head and shoulders patterns with necklines going along the way, you know, and it's just sort of painting by numbers type of activity after a certain point as you're looking along the way at how this goes. Because at any given time when you break past any of these significant areas, what you're seeing is this equivalent move towards the downside then of what would have been a sort of, you know, a light a little head and shoulders type thing. So if you've got one coming down towards that area, then it comes down towards this area thereafter, etc., etc., and it sets you up for another one as we then jump up the time frames, go towards the 24-hour time frame then, and put this into context. And you can see that you've got the same sort of system here with regards to this being a shoulder, this being a head, this being a shoulder, us having a neckline here, and this was their previous measured move, you know, at this point, and you can take it down again, of course, towards the downside, and that takes us then down towards those lower side targets. Rightio, but then if we do make it past our shoulder overall here and take it out, then maybe, you know, we can be moving towards the head side of things. And what I'm looking into 2021 is, I'm saying that if we can see this in the next sort of month or so, you know, looking up the way, moves up towards $17 would really be quite precious for us in terms of the overall upward dynamic, you know, giving us a chance to come up here in a nice stair-stepping enough way to go on and challenge up at our previous highs. And if we can do that, then we can do near enough anything. But we are obviously we're going to experience degrees of confused market conditions and irrationality, such as bearish divergence with any moves that do push up towards these sides. But we can also expect as well, having, you know, just taken into the sort of a sober breath of things, that the pullbacks that we can experience at times during any of these moves do come in the form of, like, that was over 60% there, that was you know, just under 50% here or so. So you're talking about, you know, outrageous moves down the way. So at any of these points, then I'm going to just reiterate, as I spoke about on the way up the way previously, then you're on throughout this period, if you do remember saying not to allow anybody, well, actually not this period, sorry, this period here, to not allow anybody, especially yourself, to profit shame yourself if you do take profit in moves on towards the top side, because there's no harm in doing so. But all eyes will, of course, you know, eagerly await with salivating lips the $20 area. And what a beautiful analog for the sort of 20k this would overall be in terms of Bitcoin, taking that out and going in for all-time highs. And if we're talking about Bitcoin's all-time highs and how it shaped up with vis-a-vis movements from Fibonacci retracement, Fibonacci extension points, that's old news up there on the charts, right? But it's actually the current situation. The situation, whilst I have been obviously explaining all of the interplay and the dynamics in detail along the way, this, what we wrote a long time ago, still remains the case. Okay, there's your summary for you if you like at any given time. But I wanted to draw on this Fibonacci here, because this is at least new news for folk. It's not new news because we discussed this sort of thing on the way up the way, and we can see, of course, this is where we got those 4.7 sort of Fibonacci retracement areas coming in on the way up in this extreme move towards the top side, and of course we then pulled back from that area. If we saw a bullish trend coming out of this overall with us taking out these other highs, then what could be a potential upside target for us on old Linky Schminky? and then at that point you're looking up towards 23, 25 and 28 as being just as far as where the 1618 is in terms of how we handled the move between these areas. As you can see here, moving on up, then we came at the 1618, moved past that, etc, 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 etc. So where does those etce's come in at? And just like for the 2021 fullness of virtuous, lovely all-time high talk, let's say $53 is, and then after that you've got $68, $70, and that's also lovely the way it ties in terms of Bitcoin pricing and those similar highs. Now of course they don't have to happen at the same time, and it would be lovely of course in terms of that aspect of things to see a turnaround and a lovely move, lovely towards the top side with regards to the Bitcoin pairing of this thing. As you can see, the technical analysis in the past evidently was decent enough at that point where we did the wedge within the wedge and then broke down a bit, blah blah blah. We haven't really examined things in terms of the Bitcoin pricing. If this were at some point to come in as a low, right, and we didn't take out this, if this is purely speculative, okay, so don't get too carried away. But of course, the short-term stuff and realistic type ideas are, can we make it as high as 0.000666, like whatever. We're not talking about that for this point of view of this video for this year. Of course, you've got other targets in there at 0.0012, etc, etc. That's all gravy and everything, but really looking towards 2021, we're talking about up here at 0.00248. Lovely, wouldn't that be, in terms of the first major target with regards to continuing on with what has overall been a forever upward trend of Link versus Bitcoin. And in terms of the structure and everything else here, we haven't done anything too exotic yet, having stayed above the 0.00037 area there as pointing out. So of course the next targets towards the top side all tie in with the numbers we're talking about before, roughly, where you're talking sort of 51 and up as high as sort of 66 or 68 or so on the dollar parent. So that would be, wow, lovely, splendiferous and fantastic all at once. Okay, now that's just our sort of 2021 side of things. Going to then jump on over towards the X to the Z USD and congratulate it. I'm going to congratulate it. First off, I'm going to congratulate Tezos for having been on this, this is a 24-hour time frame, looking back the way, another solid performer throughout 2020. Having started off 2020 at these prices all the way down here, was is this versus USD? Yeah, all these prices down here at the 90 cents, etc. And then moving on up, and sure, we had our all-time highs back then in August up there at $4.54 in terms of this chart. Now I know that there are other ones in the past, okay, in terms of this chart, then that's great. How far am I into this? 51 minutes. 51 minutes for Tezos. Yeah, we've that's happened then, right? Cool. And then we had a big pullback. Fine and dandy. But this has been a fantastic year for this coin, as it has been for the overall market. And it's lovely to see this not have the exact same trajectory as so many of the other alts out there, when it seems to want to forge its own path. And it's a bit of a dark horse in the market with a lot of good things still in the potential future for it. So zooming on in the way, of course this is, looks quite extreme with regards to this chart here, but it is within the realms of reason. That parallel channel gives us some play looking forward, and it wouldn't be lovely if we could just choose a couple of targets if we were able to stay above this $2 area and say that maybe we can look up towards $2.40 with another lovely percentage move up there, giving us lovely trading opportunities with the lovely. This is the lovely show. Welcome to the show. My name is Rocky Outcrop. This is the lovely show. And we have the 50 simple period moving average in here. Taking that out, of course, gives it that upward, perhaps chance of moving upward momentum style towards the top side. If we do anything along the lines of structurally, now of course we don't need to do it within the realms of taking out this parallel channel here, but to do anything really structurally, we're talking 240 does a big difference there. Up the way here, 266, that's a big difference. But then we've got this massive gap up the way towards $4.20, and the enthusiasm that we would go in there could potentially lead to very great things happening. Now we know that there's various dangers to be aware of. This is the weekly time frame, and we can make assessments off the back of this volume overall, a couple of different things, and it looks like it's decreasing. I just want to give a couple of little sort of warnings with regards to bearing, while overall you could make that argument, I wanted to give a couple of quick ideas, just like draw the arrow down here and say, well, this was here stopping volume in terms of that downward move. That's when that happened, and then in at this point here, we can see this is when we were coming up the way in regards to the price action. And where does it line up with? Well, actually, it lines up lower than where we came in here when we were moving upwards of the price action at this point. And then, of course, we've had we've seen overall between these two highs upward movement. Now there are other dangers, of course, to be aware of. Bringing back up, there we have it, these oscillators down below. We know that there was this bearish divergence at that point between these two highs. Now this is logarithmic. If we take it off that and put it on linear, then you can see as well that there's this very two distinct highs, and we've come in with higher lows overall after we've had this big bearish divergence. So where has this led to really between these 2 points, just in terms of the overall interplay of this market? I'm going to just stick the magnet on here because fiddling around has been annoying so far. So where that takes us down as far as was, of course, right in here as the 786 and the 618 are the sort of the upper and lower range that we're looking at in terms of the broader term time frame. So that again is where we've been talking about for so long. At 222, 2222 is the area to beat, and if we do that, then coming on up the way and challenging in at 360 isn't even that big a deal if we wanted to see an overall turnaround in the market and you're wanting to be negative about things. If you thought that potentially that you could see things then eventually turn around and bring this in as a sort of overall rounding off of the top here. But what's more likely, if you just want to consider the trend to actually be your friend, is rather than a downward move, is to just kind of continue on with what we've seen in the longer term, and that gives us targets towards the top side, which we can draw in a number of ways. And I'm just going to do it in one way, but twice to summarize it. This is kind of reminding me, by the way, a little bit of the sort of the whole how rain is made diagrams that you have, with the evaporation and this sort of thing. And of course, I suppose in some ways that is the way of the world, so why wouldn't it be like that to an extent? So that's kind of funny. Anyway, taking it there down to there, we can see, looking to the left, that this subsequent high came in at close enough to that 1272, wasn't really breaking the mold by doing it. So if we just want to be thinking along the same sort of lines here in terms of where we could potentially, if things were to go lovely for us in terms of 2021 and just coming in here at the 1.2, again, then that takes you up towards $5.27, and that means that you're sitting in here with a potential rise of where we're looking at just coming in at the end of, just as something to look back on, I suppose. Obviously it could be big face palms or whatever, but we're just talking about this in terms of the next year, where with potential. You could be looking at 164% move towards the top side, and that is really, really solid. And in terms of looking at how Bitcoin could potentially have those targets up towards the 50s, 60s, etc., then we're also talking about that potential for another 100% towards the top side. And we could still talk about things as being early days yet, which does mean a lot to an aging man like myself coming into the end of another year, to know that we're still early, and that's lovely, reassuring stuff. Anyway, of course, if we did actually push past that, we could be looking up as high as $6.22, but we'd be having a talk about that at the time, I'm sure, and considering how things would go. And it's not that crazy to think that that we have that potential. We want to just stick it onto log and see where those similar targets are coming in at. By the way, for us, it's a different picture that gets painted. I can do the same story again, of course, with this. Now, this is a chart which looks good on log. It does. It suits the log image overall. And looking to the left, we had that 1272 as well over there, and well, it comes out at 520. Actually, no, this is exactly the same price numbers. Is it? Have I just fooled myself there? Ding. Yes, I did. But now I've undone the damage, and we're looking up towards $6 there. Right, so yes, we didn't actually make it as high as the 1272 on the previous run. So if we didn't, again, they were talking the same sort of targets in terms of absolute values and everything else. But if we did go up as high as the 1272, then you're looking up towards $6 again, which is the further subsequent targets on that linear chart. And then the 1618 comes in here at 865. So if you were to do that sort of thing, that would be nice to see. And it doesn't really, seem odd in terms of the broad term, the broad strokes thing. This is the weekly chart looking into 2021 for anyone just joining us, with a lovely look towards the future of the potential for Tezos long-term positivity to really mean something. Jeepers, that's a mess. Come on, it's that anchor tool. You see, anything along these lines, meaning that really, so long as we do stay above that 150 area where we already wicked down to in the past, and we don't really breach this zone in overall, that we could be looking up towards those heady highs of $6, as maybe come March in 2021. And wouldn't that be nice to have as happening for the price action? So that's potential for us. If we were to see something, we'd hope that would happen in a sort of alt season style way, so that this negativity that we've had on the go versus Bitcoin could eventually come to an end, and that would be nice to see. So that would be, first off, let's see it going back up above 10,000 satoshis. If we're able to do that, then fantastic, because all the moves up towards the top side here seem like really crazy far away, considering that we were actually up there handling ourselves really quite well for quite a long time. We've come down in here and actually put in terms of this particular chart, all-time lows and everything else. So obviously this is the same sort of chat as what we have with when you're looking at the highs in Bitcoin. It's very much extreme to this sort of chat, but you could be looking at things going up towards these sorts of 1,000% rises. There's a 500% rise somewhere like that over the next wee while. But that is, of course, very outrageous to talk like that. But in terms of what we're seeing, when you hope for turnarounds in this format here, this is the inverted chart of Tezos there. I just flipped it. We want to see some turn around. We really desperately want to there in terms of that, in terms of those moves, and something along the lines of just coming in for a 618 Fibonacci retracement down to, or then therefore up to 25,000 satoshis, where we spent. That's just coming up towards the lows that we had, and that would ultimately be showing you that the market structure had changed over a bit of a longer term if it failed to do that and move back down. But just coming into these areas would be lovely to see, and it's possible to have happen. And then you're talking about many percent increases towards the top side. So that'd be nice to have happen, bringing us back all the way then over towards Bitcoin, and saying that if we were to be talking about things now, I did say this at the start of the show or whatever, if you're at that, this is kind of an aspect of risk management. If you're talking about the movements towards the downside currently, then how would this look? I'll just go down towards the 24-hour time frame. The weekly time frame, that looks ridiculously sort of bearish in inverted commas. This again, the same sort of thing. It's like it's so negative, but that's just, it's been a parabolic run towards the top side, and you don't really see downward movements like this. It's a little bit unfair to talk about it like this, but if we were to want to talk about big movements back up, the way come back up and testing the 200 period simple moving average still is okay, because I can imagine if this was a downtrend and all you succeeded in doing was coming up and failing to take out these lows here in terms of your upward movement, only hitting the 200 simple and coming back down the way again, you'd be expecting more lows at that point potentially, with this, if we come, whatever. So that type of chat, we could still potentially have a big load of positive sort of elasticity, you could say, to an extent, with the price in terms of downward movements, while we're in the face, because of all-time highs. Let me just flip this back over. Because of we're in the face of all-time highs coming into the new year, and all the positivity in the terms of the darkest before the dawn, which potentially waits around the corner for us as we've been cracking up to these levels, which are just basically nobody knows type chat that you can have about them, then I can't really remember the start of my sentence there at this point, to be honest with you. Then things be good. Yeah. Cool. So what was that coin that somebody wanted? I did ask Tanner to stick in the ticker for it, but I don't know if he did stick in the ticker for it or if he evaporated. You've come a long way, he said, that was the last thing he said, so maybe he's missed it. It was something called can't remember what it's called. Happy New Year from Sicily, says Peter here. It's great to see you, Peter. I hope you're doing really well. Send my best to Christina and family and everything else. And yeah, was it Buon Natale? No, that's Good Christmas, isn't it? Yes. Happy New Year. I don't know the Italian for it, I must admit. Zoner, BTC is so close to all-time high, looks like it wants more weekly RSI. Is insane. Blow off top incoming, question mark. This is going to end well for people who are buying now, in my opinion. Yeah, well, yeah. Right. The same could have been said in lots of ways. Depending, if you were trading with leverage and stuff like that, at any of these sorts of highs, 24-hour time frame, when we came in for the high and then had a big pullback, in terms of or whatever. But I know what you're meaning. You're meaning something more than just an 8% move, for example, or whatever. You mean something much more than that. And yeah, things could end badly for a lot of people. But at what stage, we have to remember, at what stage are we going to stop saying that it's what do we call it? What stage are we going to say that it's not a pullback and it's become a trend reversal, an actual trend reversal? Well, that 13k area, I suppose, is one of those areas, and taking it to 200 simple would be one of them. And really, I'm just going to have a trader's perspective on this. I know that identifying the trend is important. We've already identified the trend, and it's towards the top side, right? I'd be happy. I'm quite sort of happy to trade shorts as well, and I'd be taking the. I would probably benefit from any sort of move that happened like that. It'd be fantastic to see. Anytime anybody, I've said this in the past, right? And what you're saying there kind of boils down to, in lots of ways, when you say for anybody that's buying right now, is that what we've talked about for so many times in the recent past, where I say, what's the easiest way to stop always buying the top? Well, it's easy, isn't it? You just stop buying the top, right? It doesn't really come down to much. The 24-hour time frame makes it a bit more difficult to see, but if you bought it right here, then obviously you're buying the top, and then you can wait for a retracement. You can wait for a retracement any given time. At least the people that bought it here are sitting saying, well, that was decent from 27,900, because they're sat in profit now at 29,127, and things are kind of looking fairly decent for them, and that makes a lot of sense. What chart is this? BTC USD, but this is on a different. Well, this was previous. Well, look at that. That's done. It's what it needed to do. So that's cool. So I'll just remove that for now. And now we're waiting to see if we have this as a wedge play out. Failed wedges, by the way, as we've always said, forever and a day, can just turn into parallel channels. So I'd look out for that. Demonstrating that by cloning this and just essentially saying that failure on this thing could easily come in at any of these areas, finding a move up towards the top side if you're looking at this as being a wedge between those areas, and needing this to move down beyond it, really for you to start to say that at that point you're going to take shorts, and you would obviously have profit taking targets coming in at 26.5, etc, etc. So as long as you're managing, now I'm not a financial advisor, not financial advice, but as long as you're managing your trades well enough, then there's decent moves to be had in either direction, which should give you enough of a sort of wiggle room to be able to survive to trade again, no matter what way you do it. So you're right in a sense that people, not going to end well, but if it doesn't end well, then that's kind of, then at that point the buck stops with them, doesn't it? It's not the market doing it to them, it's none of us at all. And overall, let's just celebrate the new year. Wonder if Lee Chinnick will turn up if he's been out dancing all night or whatever. He's obviously in Australia, so it's tomorrow for him. We're the Gangoliers in that sense. Give me a shout out if you ever watched that Gangoliers movie. Phil H, hey Rocky, doing a job, we'll watch later. Coincidentally, I was just thinking about Tezos in a what the fuck is up with that type of a way. Yeah, well, hopefully we've what the fucked up is that a little bit for you, undone some of that, but yeah, you're not wrong about that. Oh, look at that technical analysis we had back then. Wasn't that a good laugh? Wasn't that a good laugh? Yeah, that was a good one. The significance of this area and all of these areas more or less speaking for themselves. Whew, nice, tasty stuff. That was some tasty technical analysis, bringing in the new year with alacrity. What was that thing that guy said? He said fetch. Maybe you'll tune in and watch it later. Fetch.ai/Bitcoin. Tether us. Hello. Fetchai Tetheros. It's not that this is a 4 hour time frame. It's not that distinct again from the sort of from a lot of what we've seen in the past. This will be March down here, yes. And that is August, yes. This is the lows in here in November, yes. This is a high on 25th November, yes. These are lows over here. I mean, this is kind of more or less along the same sort of lines as what we've been talking about with Tezos, for instance. Although it doesn't look anything like it on that chart. But it is. Damn it, take my word on that one. And Chainlink. Yeah, the markets is just let's just see. Go back. I gotta go back. Where's Fetch AI? Am I never gonna get there? Is this Fetch AI? I think this is Fetch AI. What is Fetch AI? Well, anyway. Right. Cool. High, low, lower, higher. Yeah. Potential for this to be downward trending. First off, it's clear that we've got a supply line along there currently, and another sort of broader sense where we've got one kind of coming up this sort of direction that, you know, roughly speaking. That's not what I was really wanting to look at. It's more along the lines of asking the question of where are we in terms of these movements towards this downward side currently, and can we kind of prove it wrong? Because it would be nice to see this not be the case over here. This is on log, so that diverges slightly. Just sorry, I just had to take it off log and put it on linear so that you could see them actually being like a channel rather than broadening out as it would do on the log charts. So yes, we want to see that stop happening essentially, and there's a couple of different routes towards that. With that being the case for us, can it be like a sort of descending triangle? Which fails, you know, because it's obviously a bearish pattern, and then moves towards the top side. Well, it could be, but we're going to have to be quite careful with all of that area down there, because that obviously represents a neckline of many sorts, and we're looking at it on the 24-hour time frame, but I'm sure you could find various things to talk about, sort of like Adam and Eve type things or whatever. This is also obviously the key area of support, essentially, is what I'm talking about. And this doesn't necessarily mean that we've really done anything quite yet. Let's just jump up towards a higher time frame so we can see, because we're just consolidating in this area post turnaround, and looking at the turnaround. How did that come in? Bit of bullish divergence on the stochastics, not so much on the RSI. Was it class B? Whatever. That's the 3 day. 2 days got 2 days got it. Weekly. The weekly looks like, well, the weekly instead is actually decent as well in its own right, just its own regard. Just here, looking at that instead, overall, so that's decent from the longer term perspective. Don't mean to move that around so much. Sorry about that, ladies and gents. Just wanted to bring it onto log so we could see the percentage type move up the way, how well we've done really overall. And it's good. I mean, this is good. Okay, so this is cool. This is good. This is good to see. Separate. I don't want to see this ticking round here, obviously, but continue towards the top side. That would be nice. Got it moving up the way at the minute. Moving down the time frames, we can see that it's actually down on the 3 day with this sort of this downward structure, which is what we were kind of contemplating at the start. Like, is this a descending triangle, and is there a degree of momentum towards the downside? As we can see in the 2 day time frame, we've still got the same sort of idea on the go, but we're finding a good degree of support as well in around this area. This represents more or less what we see up above in terms of the price action. Well, obviously, obviously, but this is kind of, are we going to break past this area or not? And we haven't done so far. And taking out these areas up above isn't like that difficult. And then to look back at this and think that this is just along the way as part of a move is okay. This consolidation factor that we have at the minute is okay as well. Just want to see it taking out those targets. I mean, because if we do get a measured move, then you're looking all the way up towards well, it's the difference between 64 and 45. So that's 20 towards the top side, and that takes out structurally these other areas towards the left and gives you an actual decent area to retest as support there afterwards as well. Looking at that 60 area thereafter, if that could be the case. So that would be that. this year is kind of just obviously challenging off that 236. I say, you know, but like just, you know, drawing this in here and seeing it. It's not obvious, I suppose, but as you can see, it's just challenging off that 236 here at the minute and finding it getting, you know, rejected off of it on this 2-day time frame. It's been like that for a wee while. But we're not a million miles away from taking these things out, and that's just 53. We're not even talking 10% movement towards the top side. It's more like a 5% movement towards the top side would get us within kissing distance of that, and that's where all the moving averages are residing here in the 2-day time frame, seeing that we're in a golden cross position still until such times as we isn't. You know, we've had a golden cross there in the 3-day happen already back when we had this, well, you know, after the turnaround, I suppose, essentially. In terms of the 24-hour time frame, it would be a different story. As you can see, yes, indeed it is. And we've got that negative cross here, but we've tested 200, found it the price action to be needing to come back in here so far and test the 50. Ideally, we don't see this line here getting tested too much, you know, and we can move towards the top side, but that all comes in around about the 236, and that gives you that, like, you know, if we take out the 236 and go towards the 382, then things start to look really quite good at a certain point. Now we can even start to look towards having a full in terms of 2021, if we take out the 236, this is a bit rich, but let's just say it anyway, we could be looking at 1,000% move towards the top side to take out that 1618 in there at 0.5, and that could be one of those wonderful moves. In terms of logarithmic chart and whatever else, it doesn't look like it's too outlandish, and just going back into the past, we know that the prices have been up as high as these heady highs in the past, and really talking about coming in here and equaling the starting price. If we could really have a massive alt season, is it possible that we get the launch price, you know, or at least the launch on this exchange price and put it in our headlights? And is there a justification for it in terms of market structure and movements here, looking at the chart in this particular way? Well, there is, and that is how you could potentially get there. And well, you know, that's something. So there we go. Are we good? Are we good? I think I'm going to just say an hour and 15 minutes into this one that I'll not take up too much of your hog minute, but I will jump over to the chat. So what I'm going to do right this second is pop the bitcoins to the dollar coins back on the screen. Bitcoin to the dollar coin back on the screen. Do you remember in the past how there was this move? Bitcoin, dollar coin back on the screen. What the hell? Put that like that, right? And then take this like this. I go down the way. This is of course going to shrink, and you see it shrank all the way down. We took it out towards the top side. Wasn't that wonderful? Well, let's just remember as well, this kind of overall represents where we don't want to see the pricing going any lower than at the minute in terms of the moves, you know. So another structural point for us to be aware of in terms of, you know, we talk about all those 236s and everything else earlier on and yada yada, but we also have like the sort of the knowledge and comparing that to the past points and where we had our all-time highs at and everything else, you know, that area of that 10% between 20 and 22 is really, you know, going to be key for us looking into 2021. That's a funny arrangement of numbers, that one. And yeah, so anyway, Bitcoin, dollar coin back on the chart. What chart have I got up at the minute? It doesn't have the drawings on there, it just has this old stuff. Here's one I made earlier, ladies and gents. Whatever, that Fibonacci doesn't line up properly there, perfectly, whatever. Right, cool. Let me just catch up with y'all in the chat, because it's New Year. Bitcoin pavements make me feel brand new. That's one for the Mexican kitchen. I sang that one just for you. Looking forward to the 100,000 meetup. What's it going to be, you know? What comes first? The 100k outcropticians in the world, in which case we have an outcroptician meetup in Bali, and I drink tequila and get fat and drunk on tequila and tacos, right? Is it 100k Bitcoin, or do we meet up when we get 100k or 100,000 Rocky Outcrops or 100,000 Bitcoin? You know, what's it going to be? What do you reckon? What comes first, right? What comes first? Get your bets on 100,000 Rocky Outcrops or 100,000 $100,000 price for Bitcoin. Either way, we're going to have that meetup in Bali, and I hope you're all looking forward to it. And of course, You know, we will make the plans and arrange the plans for that meetup in the VIP patron chat room thing. I'm going to have to make these levels on the Discord and all the rest of it, just like Damo suggested earlier on. So I will do so, but of course that's where we'll end up discussing it. It'll be for that sort of a thing, you know. I'll be looking forward to seeing. I mean, it's the names I'm seeing here already, obviously, like and the ones that come in the future, and we know that they're going to be great people, just like all of yourselves. Like we know that there will be 100,000 outcropticians out there. If we could get that, the party that we would have in Bali would be world-shatteringly good. I betcha. Biggest house party ever had, for me personally, had, well, for me in TradeSpotting, because it was us doing it together, had 57 people at it, I think, which isn't massive in terms of American standards, I'm sure, but that was 57 people at a party, you know, with a bar that we'd built ourselves, and it was fire. And yeah, but then, you know, the 100k outcroptician party, it is going to be fearsome. I think 30k will be new all-time high before the start of the retrace. Just my guess, not a trading strategy, says MJS out there. That's cool. Brandon, nice to see you, buddy. Happy New Year, hopefully. Yeah, totally. Happy New Year, hopefully, as well to one and one and all. Chechu Osumanu coming in there with perhaps the second best name of all the Rocky Outcropticians. I'm sorry, Navanethan actually still reigns as champion in terms of the best name. But if that's your actual name, imagine it is Chehu. I am imagining it now. Chehu Osumanu. I obviously can't say it. That would be pretty amazing. If you're looking for the number one champion for the best name, then he's up above there. It's Navanethan Slavabalavika Naraja. Let me know if I got that right. Yeah, cool. By the way, nice to see you, Patrick Pellegrino, and nice to see you, NNK. What do you think will be on the next hours? Yes, we chatted about that earlier on. So that's all gravy. Bali. Yes, a sober Scotsman comes first. Oh, yeah, that's actually it. So tomorrow, what does that represent? What does tomorrow represent? Well, it represents the 1 year on since my first video on YouTube. We're coming to the end of the stream here. I want to give myself. I'll give myself a break tomorrow. I'll give myself a break tomorrow in terms of not embarrassing myself by just going ahead and getting all the embarrassment out in 2020 or whatever. As I look back, let myself introduce myself from my very first video ever. Looking forward to tomorrow being the anniversary of that. So let's just do it for everybody. I wonder. This is going to be something. I wonder how many of you will remember that. I know that there are some people here, and it's absolutely amazing that that's the case. There are some people here. For some reason it says 3rd of January. What's that all about? Did I actually start on the 3rd of January? Am I lying to myself? No, I started on the 1st of January. Don't let me. Don't. That's BS. Somehow that's BS. Whatever. There you go. You can convince yourself of anything, right? Pretty sure I started on the 1st of January, and this is BS somehow. Anyway, yeah, I know Peter here, for instance. Happy anniversary, Rocky Outcrop. It's been an awesome year. I love your work. I love you as well. You know, I love your work as an outcroptician. You've been doing a really fantastic job this year. So thank you so much for everything and your contributions to the community, and for having been one of the first people to subscribe to the channel. So I am running up here towards the end of the show. Okay, I am coming up towards the end of the show. I'll stick the old oops, clicking the wrong buttons there. I'll stick a wee link in here towards the Patreon. I don't really need to, whatever, it's just the end of the year. Just Patreon Rocky Outcrop, and I'll link it to the top. I don't know, AB Lopez hasn't tuned in today, so I'll just pin that up there. I don't know if that actually functions as a link. I think it does, maybe not. And I had to quit drinking, I was too good at it. Just kidding. Tell you what, I'm actually, really crap at drinking, which I'm very, very happy to have arrived at that point in my life. It's taken a long time to get to the point where I've got really crap at drinking because I was far too good at it as a younger man, and that's that's it. It's like I remember going out to like my high school prom, if you like, in Scotland here. And I drank a whole bottle of vodka beforehand, so I was just a young man, and it was a litre bottle, and then got more drunk there at the time, and it was great. And I woke up the next day feeling fine. That didn't quite keep being so easily done, and nowadays if I were to do anything like that, I would have a hangover. Although actually, I tell you what, at that wedding in Poland, I brought back my old spirit, so I'm sure I could probably actually tell you, I don't know, maybe I could manage it. Anyway, got that to look forward to tomorrow. Yes, winding up the show, I just wanted to let myself introduce myself to myself again from the very early days, and then I'll say cheerio. So let's just take a look. I'll try not to cringe too much at myself. I mean, I'll tell you what, I'll be cringing my face off next year. Well, that's the plan, isn't it? Anyway, I'll be cringing my face off next year when I look back at my time now. So, well, hopefully, anyway. That means I've done something right. I like that. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Rocky Outcrop, and this is going to be my new community on YouTube for people interested in trading, especially if you're interested in cryptocurrencies. Quick disclaimer, none of this, and none of this ever will be financial advice, and you'll never be told what to do with your money on this channel. Always do your own research and your own due diligence before making any financial decisions. Right, that out of the way, let me tell you what we'll be getting up to on the... Alright, great. Isn't he cute, that guy? Isn't he cute? Well done, Rocky. You've done so much this year. Well done, Rocky Outcropticians, and thank you to every single last one of you that joined us. I remember that intro, says Pierre. It was quite good, wasn't it? Thanks very much. To everybody for joining us. It's been a fantastic year. I'm looking forward to 2021 being an even better year. It's fantastic. Be sure to introduce me to your friends and family out there, because remember, a friend of yours is very much a friend of ours, because the Rocky Outcrop community is a special one full of really, really nice people, and that is it. We're all in this together. We're all here supporting each other all the time, and every single last one of you is a superstar. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. I'm going to enjoy reading back through the chat, by the way, after this episode, like I did after yesterday's episode too, so that's going to be fun as well. I'll catch up with any messages I missed. I'll do a quick reverse roll call, I suppose, here at the end. Thank you so member berries. Thank you so much, Tradesbond, for tuning in. You've been fantastic, especially here in these live videos where you've been a real great cornerstone of the community. Thank you, Zoner. You tuned in here from one of the since pretty much since the first of the live videos as well. Been around quite a bit, so that's absolutely fantastic. Cheers to Navanethan, who says cheers to you, Rocky, and cheers to the wonderful community. Has been a real pleasure being a part of it. Yeah, that's fantastic. Have a great time, guys. I hope we're all Bali bound this time next year. Yeah, exactly, to the blue beaches of Bali, blue seas of Bali, to get them tacos. I could so do with that right now. But as well, throughout the year, I've not taken any holiday days, at all. And apart from, I took one holiday day, right, because my cousin got married, and fantastic, wonderful. What a day that was! Right before COVID started, really kind of locking everything down. It was fantastic. One of the good memories of the year. And yeah, so and I'll continue to do the same next year. Okay, so it's another commitment. It was a sort of a New Year's resolution, you could say, last year to get to this point, and I can recommit to everybody again. It's like to continue to provide top quality content as much as I possibly can. Okay, always as much as I possibly can. That's what I've been doing so far this year, and that's what I'll continue to do. Same standard, minimum standard, always, and hopefully evolving to become better and better all the time. And that's what the Patreon's going to do, by the way, because I'm running this thing like a business. I want the not to be in terms of that. it's gone massively into the red in terms of just the money that I put into setting up the channel and everything else. And then I'm thinking, well, hey, I'm going to let the channel pay for new equipment and everything else, but I'm going to put it directly into that. Some of the donations so far have been specifically said, go out and have KFC gravy, get a bottle of malt whiskey, a steaks, whatever, and some beers, and those ones will go towards those specified purposes. But all the money that comes into things like Patreon and all that sort of stuff will be put towards better mics, cameras, all that stuff. Anybody who's former YouTubers that wants to give me any tips or anything as well, by the way, I'm always looking for more information and help in terms of planning that for the future. Want everything to be whatever. Massive digression. I digress. Reverse roll call. Zoner, thank you so much for joining us. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us. Happy New Year to you as well. Happy New Year to you, Zoner. Happy New Year to you, Trazebon. Happy New Year to you, John, our MJS. A star is born. Well, thank you so much as well. You're a star yourself. Thank you so much, K-Doc, for tuning in here today. It's been really fantastic to have you there. And to K-Doc's financial advisor, lol. Earlier on, Peter Hure, thank you for being a part of the family for this whole year. It's absolutely fantastic. It's really lovely to make real friends, like, such as all like Kevin King, KK1367, for instance, and all of you out there. Phil, thank you so much for being a part of the community. It's really great. That one episode of the BB Champion was the cracker for you, was it? The Bollinger Band. That's cool. That's nice that I was able to give people some, to help. It's like, it means so much. I mean, this whole thing, this has been a fantastic experience this year. What a journey to be on with all of you. It's been fantastic. The friendships and everything else, but to know that putting out actual real value to people that's actually helping, in a real way, means so much. It's fantastic, and I'm seeing that. Yesterday was my best ever day on YouTube in terms of just that community feeling and the value and everything else in the show and everything else. It just felt like it was such an amazing feeling to have in the end of the year coming up towards that time. So thank you so much for that. So yeah, again, then what else? Who have I missed? Who have I missed in the reverse roll call? Let's see. Patrick Pellegrino, thank you so much for tuning in. NK as well, as thank you so much for tuning in. Happy New Year to you. Scotty Sniper 93, thank you so much. Only an excuse. Only an excuse. Yeah. I'll be watching that. Have I missed it? No, it's not. I've not missed it. That's sweet. I'll be watching that. So yeah, cool, nice one. Just sweet, some buzz about it. Aye, sweet. Happy New Year, big chap. Yeah, sweet. Thank you so much for all this. Demo, thank you so much for tuning in. Fantastic to see you. I hope you have a fantastic new year. For you, of course, you're quite a distance behind in time. So you'll be getting your one a bit later. By the way, everybody, I did say to check out that. Did I copy the link? I didn't copy the link. Darn. I did say to check out that video on YouTube as well. So I'll just stick a link into this one in the live chat so that you all get to just copy the link. How about that? That'll be much handier for y'all. It's well worth it. It's really, really fantastic. I love Scottish culture. I am an Irish passport holder, by the way, if you're wondering. Like, I showed that Irish passport yesterday's video. So I'm Irish and Scottish. It's a beautiful combination. Sledge, thank you so much for tuning in. Really good to have you here. Pan Diazic, thank you so much for having tuned in as well. We also had Tanner Osborne earlier on, whom I did Fet Chai for, and that's cool. That's mostly people. I think I've not missed anybody. Maybe I have. If I have, I apologize. 3,000 Trin, I think I got you there towards the end. So yes, fantastic. Thanks y'all for tuning in. Take care, y'all. Says 3,000 Trin, and that's fantastic. The community ends on the same positive note as me, ending up on 3,000 Trin. Wow, what synchronicity! The serendipity is awesome. Cool. Love yous all. See yous tomorrow.